Peter Sibley, and I'm half of Wild Harvest, the other half is Clifford Davey, my partner. We run courses for the general public, introducing them to foraging for wild foods from the countryside. I concentrate on plants, Clifford concentrates on the mushrooms, and we also make sure that we feed people with a good meal that features wild foods to give them a taste of what they're actually supposed to be collecting. I should say at this point that neither of us are survivalists. We're at the gourmet end of the business, and we believe that if it doesn't taste good, it's not worth collecting.
Well, I'm Clifford Davey. I'm the mycologist of Wild Harvest. Our approach at Wild Harvest, I think, is very simple. It's pitched at foragers and people who want to forage for wild food, and we've got to distill all that information in a way that's a reasonable amount of information to take away and actually empower people to apply that knowledge almost right away. And our approach is quite...
There are 4 or 5 species of roses wild roses in Britain, and they're all edible. These, very, very simply, you can take a handful, put them in double cream, put it in a blender, give it a whiz, you've got rose petal fool. The Latin name is aconitum. The poison it contains is aconite. It is deadly poisonous. The flowers are poisonous, the seeds are poisonous, the leaves are poisonous, the stems are poisonous, the roots are poisonous. All parts of the plant are poisonous.
So if you want to find this fungus, you go to an ancient woodland, and you want to make sure that the temptation to find this by the edge of the road doesn't make you go and pick it, even though it's a prized mushroom. Typically used road will have lots of lead deposits. Will have beautiful saps that are super leaded. Not a good idea. In some extreme cases, it's poisonous versus edible, and in some instances, deadly poisonous. So be very careful. Well, in a fall chanterelle, very orange, very orange gills. These are much more egg yolk, kind of yellow colour.
These are the winter chanterelles, very, very good eating. The tawny grisette, which is unusual in that it's a member of a family, most of which are poisonous, but this one is okay. Here's a very young example of the same thing, just bursting out of its sac. There. Very young.
Amethystia, the amethyst deceiver. Beautiful lilac coloration in the gills. They're quite small, but they can be plentiful and very, very good in a mixed leaf salad that you can add a honey and mustard vinaigrette. It's a totally different type of fungus, you can see there, that hasn't got gills, it's got a layer of tubes, and it's in the Boletus group. And this is a very good edible mushroom, Boletus bardius, the bay Boletus, because it's got such a dark colour in the cap. And you must make sure that mature specimens where the caps are stretched, the tubes open out, so it's a spongy layer which you must discard, but retaining the flesh in the cap and the flesh in the stem. Very, very good eating. The third this really tall thing with a cap that's very grooved or striated all along the margin of the cap, and it's a tawny grisette, so that's pretty good. I would say something like about getting on for nearly 4 stars. The yellow legs or winter chanterelles, these are fantastic. They're in the same family of chanterelles, very, very good indeed. Amethyst deceivers, they can be very variable in colour, hence the name deceiver. Anything from that to a saturated form over there, but in fact if you look at the gills, always lilac and dropping lilac spores, which is Lacaria amethystia, amethyst deceiver. Very nice. Not deadly poisonous, but a pretty poisonous fungus, and one definitely to be avoided. 2 more magnificent specimens of bay Boletus, Boletus bardius, very good to eat. Now this superficially looks like a bay Boletus because it has a deep coloured cap, but look how different the stem is to a bay Boletus. So interestingly, this is not a bay Boletus, but it's just as good a mushroom. It is Boletus aureus, and it grows in association with oak trees, and they're very good to eat as well. All of these, whilst quite interesting to look at, are harmless with the exception of the web caps, and that can be consumed in the kitchen. So here we try and demystify, make it simple enough for people to apply whilst they go and forage. And I emphasize locally because it's important to get to know your local woods, your local fields, and go there as regularly as you can, because knowing the habitat means you'll become a much more competent forager and applying the knowledge in a way that you can use for many years to come.